There is not a single thing out of place in Ellen's living room, and there hasn't been for as long as anyone can remember. The cushions sit at matching angles, the books line up by height, the kitchen surfaces are wiped down the moment a crumb dares to land, and every evening, without fail, the day is put back into its proper order before she can rest. To her friends in Manchester, Ellen is simply the tidy one, the one whose home always looks like a magazine. But the truth of that spotless room is far more tender and far more human than anyone standing in it would guess. Because a home that clean is almost never just about cleanliness, it's a language, and once you learn to read it, an immaculate room starts telling you something quiet and important about the person who keeps it that way. Let's begin with the feeling underneath it, because that's where the real story lives. For a lot of people who keep an immaculate home, the tidying isn't really about the dust at all, it's about how the tidying makes them feel. When Ellen straightens that last cushion and the room finally sits right, something in her chest loosens. A tightness she's been carrying all day eases, just slightly. The outer order has done something to her inner state. It has turned the volume down on a low hum of unease she might not even have a name for. This is the first key to understanding the spotless home. Very often, the clean surface on the outside is doing the work of soothing something restless on the inside. The person isn't cleaning the room. In a quiet, real way, they're using the room to clean a feeling. To understand why that works, you have to understand something about anxiety and control. Anxiety, at its core, is the feeling of things being uncertain, unpredictable, out of our hands. It's the mind bracing against a future it can't pin down. And when so much of life genuinely is beyond our control, the job, the health news, the people we love, the state of the world, the mind starts to reach, understandably, for anything it can control. A home is one of the few things that will actually obey. You cannot make your boss reasonable, or your diagnosis clear, or another person kind. But you can make the kitchen gleam. You can line up the tins so the labels all face forward. And in a life full of things that won't do as they're told, there is a genuine, steadying comfort in a corner of the world that finally, reliably will. So the spotless home often works as a kind of anchor. When everything inside feels chaotic, the ordered space outside becomes a fixed point to hold on to. Wiping the counter becomes almost meditative, a small ritual with a clear beginning, a clear end, and a visible, satisfying result. Few things in modern life give us that. Most of our efforts disappear into screens and inboxes, and problems that never quite resolve. But a scrubbed sink is finished. It is done. You can see that you did it. For a mind that spends its days chasing problems that never close, the simple closure of a completed, tidy room can be one of the most reliably calming experiences available. The order out here quietly lends itself to the disorder in there. This is also, very often, deeply woven into temperament, the way a person is wired from early on. Some people are simply built with a finer sensitivity to their environment. A cluttered surface doesn't just look untidy to them, it feels loud. A pile of unopened post on the table can sit at the edge of their attention like a dripping tap, a small persistent signal that something is unfinished. For someone wired that way, tidying isn't fussiness, it's turning off a set of little alarms that other people genuinely don't hear as loudly. The mess isn't neutral background to them the way it is to others. It registers as unfinished business, and clearing it is how they give their attention some peace. And then, there's where it all begins, which is so often further back than we think. Many people who keep an immaculate home can trace the thread, if they're honest, to the house they grew up in. Sometimes it grew from a home where tidiness was the rule, where a made bed and a clear surface earned approval and mess earned disappointment, or worse. A person raised like that can learn very early that order is how you stay safe and how you're loved. But just as often, it grows from the exact opposite. From a childhood that felt chaotic, unpredictable, out of control, an unstable household, a turbulent time, a place where nothing could be relied upon. And a person who grew up in that kind of storm sometimes discovers, later, that keeping their own space perfectly ordered is a way of promising themselves that they will never feel that chaos again. The tidy adult home becomes the calm, controlled place they never had. Isn't that a tender thing to consider? That the person wiping the same clean counter for the third time might not be fussing at all? They might be quietly reassuring a much earlier version of themselves that everything is all right now, that this home, at least, is safe and steady and theirs. When you see it that way, the immaculate room stops looking like vanity or coldness and starts looking like what it often really is. a form of self-soothing, a way of caring for oneself, a small daily act of turning the world into somewhere that finally feels manageable. Now, because this whole subject deserves honesty, we have to talk about the line. Because there is a point where a love of order stops serving a person and starts running them instead, and it matters to be able to tell the difference, gently and without alarm. Healthy tidiness has a quality of flexibility to it. The tidy person keeps a clean home, yes, but they can also let it go when life asks them to. Friends can visit and leave cushions askew, and it's fine. A lazy Sunday can pass with dishes in the sink, and the world doesn't end. The order is a preference they enjoy, and preferences can bend. The tidiness serves their life doesn't serve the tidiness. The line gets crossed when that flexibility disappears. When the tidying stops being something a person chooses and becomes something they can't not do. When they genuinely cannot relax until a task is done. When leaving a single dish feels not just mildly annoying, but distressing. When the cleaning eats hours that were meant for rest, or friends, or joy. Another quiet signal is the feeling underneath the act. Healthy tidying tends to feel good, satisfying, calming, complete. But when the driver has shifted to something heavier, the tidying is powered less by satisfaction and more by anxiety, by a nagging sense that if it isn't done, something will feel wrong or unsafe. At that point, the order isn't giving calm anymore. It's just briefly quieting a fear that keeps coming back, so the person has to keep paying it, again and again. I want to be very careful and very kind here, because this is exactly the kind of thing that gets people worrying about themselves unnecessarily. Loving a clean home is not a disorder. The vast majority of tidy people are simply tidy, and it brings them real pleasure and real peace, and there is nothing to fix. The point of naming the line is not to make anyone anxious about their own neatness. It's simply this. If your relationship with cleaning has started to cost you more than it gives you, if it's driven by dread rather than care, if it's eating the very rest and connection it was supposed to protect, then that's worth gently noticing, not with shame, but with the same compassion you'd offer a friend, because a tool that was meant to bring you calm should not end up being the thing that steals it. So what is the spotless home really telling us, when we stand back and read it whole? Mostly, it's telling us about a person who feels things, who notices things, and who has found a real and often beautiful way to steady themselves in an unsteady world. The immaculate room is frequently the outward sign of a rich inner life that runs a little warm, a little sensitive, a little prone to worry, and that has learned to soothe itself through the honest, tangible work of the hands. There is dignity in that. There is care in that. A person keeping their small corner of the world in order is not a person to be teased or pathologized. They are, very often, a person doing their quiet best to be okay. If that person is you, I hope you can hear this warmly. Your need for a calm, ordered space is not silly, and it is not shallow. It's one of the ways you look after yourself, and there's real wisdom in knowing what settles you. The straightened cushions and the wiped counters are you, tending to your own peace with your own hands, and that is a perfectly good thing to do. The only invitation, and it's a soft one, is to make sure that order stays your servant and not your master, to keep enough given it that you can still have the messy, glorious, uncontrollable parts of a life, the friends who come and disrupt the room, the lazy morning, the project that makes a wonderful chaos on the table. Because those things leave marks too, and some of the best marks a home can carry are the ones that prove a real life was lived in it. Think of Ellen again in her perfect living room in Manchester. There's nothing wrong with that room. It's lovely, and it's hers, and straightening it genuinely helps her feel steady at the end of a long day. The healthiest version of Ellen isn't one who suddenly stops caring about her home. It's one who keeps her calm, ordered space, and can also, when her friends arrive and laughter fills it and cushions end up on the floor, let the room be gloriously untidy for an evening and feel, underneath, that she is safe anyway. That's the whole thing, really. Not a spotless home or a chaotic one, but a person who feels secure enough on the inside that the state of the outside can finally, gently, relax. So the next time you see an immaculate home or catch yourself lining up the labels on the tins, remember what that order usually is. It's not about being better than anyone. It's not vanity, and it's not coldness. It's a person turning the chaos of being alive into something they can hold. It's a quiet act of self-care, written in clean surfaces and tidy shelves. And whether your own home is spotless or somewhere gently short of it, the deeper aim is the same for all of us. To feel, on the inside, the kind of calm that no amount of cleaning can fully give and no amount of mess can fully take away. Your space has been trying to give you that calm all along. The hope is simply that, one day, you'll feel it whether the cushions are straight or not.